Hey everybody, welcome. This is Nick from deCryptoCat. We have a great day here planned. We've got a live AMA with none other than Forex Shark himself. Just want to note up front that none of this is financial advice. None of us are financial advisors, not even Forex. So please do your own research and let's have some fun. So, with that said, welcome Forex. How are you today?
I'm great. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me. We've been doing a ton of work recently, and we have a lot to share. So I'm happy to be here. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yes, so great to have you, man. Um, Seeing a little bit of echo. Charles, are we getting echo from Forex or is it from me? Sorry about that.
I have the same setup I always have, so I don't think there would be an echo on my side.
Okay, well, let me turn my mic down just a little bit here. All right, let's give that a shot. Charles, let me know if that gets any better. All right, so we're gonna get on to this. I just have a couple questions for you, kind of as a little intro. So I guess we'll get in, before we get into that. I'll tell you. I don't know how many of if you've watched my videos or if you know anything about me really. So I'll just let you know that I've been in crypto since like 2017. I've been in passive income for the last maybe 5 years or so. Started with the casino house income dividend kind of thing, and then I turned on to drip, and that was back in August. So I've been in drip for over a year now. I'm at like 2,300 drip. It's going great. I love it.
Nice.
Drip is my first venture into DeFi. So I think I picked a good one. If I have to say,
Wow.
I've this is my first venture into DeFi, and I've had a lot of fun with it. The community is so awesome and so helpful with getting to just learn the basics of it. Because it's
That's
quite a
awesome.
different animal, different than just buying crypto on the exchange. So it's been a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it. But so that's a little bit about me. I've been in drip for a year. I've been in the animal farm since the launch. I've got up to 1 million plants now in the garden. Loving how that's going. I'm in the piggy bank and all the things. So having a lot of fun with
Yeah.
it. And it's been quite an adventure. So getting to talk to you now is such a pleasure, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So with that said, I want to learn a little bit more about who you are, and who you are to a lot of us is simply the icon of Zim here. So I'm kind of wondering why Zim is your avatar. Is it your favorite show? Is it your favorite cartoon? What's the history of that?
Oh well, I loved it growing up. My study in university was chemistry. Zim was always working in his his lab, his secret lab. So I kind of identified with that. And then now as a developer, we're always working. We're always having to keep what we're working on kind of a secret. And I just always like the character. He's funny. He's sarcastic. Uh, and then once you have an avatar that people recognize you as, you really can't change it as someone that's kind of a major influencer,
Mm-hmm.
because people don't recognize you, and there's so many people that are trying to, uh, impersonate me and sending people DMs pretending to be me and starting groups and adding people to groups, and I want to contribute to the confusion as little as possible, so I try not to change my avatar. So I've had this avatar for, well, actually, this one I have now is one that a member of our community made for me maybe 2 years ago, and
Okay.
I've kept the same one, yeah, ever since they made it. And then
Mm-hmm.
previous to that, I had one that was a Zim character that I had for a long time, maybe since, I don't know, 2016 or 2015. So I'm very careful about changing that. So that's really the reason behind it and kind of the theme behind it.
Cool. So you said you studied chemistry?
Yeah. So I went to university for I started a business right out of high school, and
Mm-hmm.
I went to university for um, about a year before I realized that. the business that I was running was really starting to take off. It was a major opportunity. Um, what I was going to school for is was largely based on interest, but also based on this is what my uncle did. I was kind of following in his footsteps, and he went to working for a major pharmaceutical company doing um, kind of quality control, checking medications to ensure that they don't have any kind of quality issues.
Sure.
And it was a good job, but it just I'm more of an entrepreneur type, and I didn't see myself working in a lab doing that kind of thing. And my business was taking off, so I decided to focus on that. And shortly after leaving university and operating my business, I bought my first property, which was a multifamily. I ended up getting a loan off the equity in the property, getting a secondary multifamily, and from that point on, I knew that investing was most likely what I was going to do as a career. I had already been introduced through stock in high school. I had a
Hmm.
very good friend that was um, kind of very mature for his age. He was not exactly an orphan, but his parents, he didn't live with his parents, and he was very independent, and he was just very far ahead when it came to business and investing. So he got me interested, and then we had a class in our high school actually where we built our own stock portfolios and
Nice.
managed them for part of the year, and that got me very excited. So my parents helped me open up a stock options account, under their name, and
Hmm.
I managed it, not really knowing what I was doing, but just kind of getting my feet wet. And then after that, I realized that Forex. This is around the time when I bought my property. I realized that Forex had a lot of the leverage advantage of the options market, with a lot of the regulation and a lot of the complexities kind of removed from it. It's really a more simple market than a lot of the options. So I turned my focus from options to forex, and I'd been invested in Bitcoin since 2012. I got invested in Bitcoin in 2012 because my buddy who was running a sports book, who was a couple years older than me, um, lost his payment processor,
Hmm.
and this was back before sports books were. Uh, there was a gray area in the U.S.
Right.
You could sports bet online, but most of it was offshore. And the way that his business ran, were there was a website that allowed you to place bets on it, but they would do all of the uh, like cash collections and settling up in person. And it was a site called City Bets. It operated. It was a very big sports book local to my city,
Hmm.
and my buddy didn't actually run it, but he worked for the guys that ran it, and they were trying to get payment processing. I had just um, learned about Bitcoin from some of the WikiLeaks. So WikiLeaks started accepting it for donations. There started to be some markets popping up that were using it. A Bitcoin, another sports book, offshore sports book, I noticed had just integrated Bitcoin in their system. So I thought, I didn't know much about it, but I knew it was another alternative option. So I introduced my buddy to it, helped him create a Bitcoin on ramp. This is very early, like late 2012. And I wasn't tech, you could say I was an investor at the time, but really, I knew it was an option to use my buddy's sports book. I wanted to help him build it. I threw some money in just to have some, just to kind of experiment with it.
Hmm.
And I didn't really realize the potential of it until 2013. Somewhere in 2013, I remember watching something on TV, some news thing where they were talking about Bitcoin and talking about how it was worth over $100, and I bought it for $14. So that's when I realized, like, oh wait, I bought $500 worth of Bitcoin at $14. Uh, this I just made a lot of money,
Right.
and then I learned more about the other use cases of Bitcoin. The website that I bought the Bitcoin from actually disappeared, so I learned really quickly, not your keys, not your coins, kind of thing.
Jeez.
Because they disappear with everybody's Bitcoin. This is very early on. This is like either right before the Mount Gox days or right when the Mount Gox days were, you know, starting to, the exchange was just starting to get operating. So at that point, I realized that I had lost the Bitcoin that I had on that website, but I needed to learn a lot more about it because it was the first thing I had ever invested in that did almost a 10x, did like an 8x in just like less than 6 months. That's when I realized the profit potential,
Mm-hmm.
and I was already dipping my toes in forex, doing a little bit of options trading, and I had got my first Bitcoin. My first Bitcoin as an investment. I bought it off of local Bitcoins, which was like a in-person meetup service where you could buy Bitcoin for cash off people locally. This is very early on, and uh, I invested and started getting more interested in that. I also got somewhat interested in coding, so I took some offensive security um, certification courses, some Python and web development courses that I wasn't super motivated on, but it kind of gave me some of the foundation that I used later on. Um, through trading forex, I started checking out some of the tools and systems that people were using. I realized that if I was going to have an objective system that was repeatable, objective, that I could back test, I needed to have a system that was automated or automated to some degree to do testing,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when I started focusing on building tools and building automated systems. First with MQL4, which is a proprietary language for MQ4, which is a forex trading software,
Okay.
and um, and this is about the time. This is around say 2015, 2016. This is around the same time I started my Discord channel. So
Gotcha.
I started a Discord group because I had some friends that knew I was making money through Bitcoin trading and forex trading, and they
Right.
were interested in it. So I started a group mainly just to invite a couple friends, and also because the groups I were joining were always ran by people that were pushing just garbage systems, refer making money through referrals through like really shady overnight exchanges, and I wanted to create a space where some of the people I met in these other groups that I was friends with could join, and we could have our own little space that was kind of separate from the scammers. And also, I had friends and family that I knew offline that wanted to learn more about it, and I figured it'd be a place where I could also document my trades, so use it kind of as a trade journal.
Right.
And I ran this group for a few years. It got significantly bigger, maybe 500 people, 1,000 people, something like that. And in 2018, this is when a developer who I ended up becoming friendly with was trying to host a pre-sale, and a, a, a friend of mine who I'm still good friends with let me know that there was another group that was going to be hosting a pre-sale for a ERC20, and this was I had a couple. I was just starting to get into trading ERC20s previous to 2018, um, and say this is late 2018, early 2019. Previous to that, I didn't really see much value in altcoins at all. Really, it was Bitcoin and Monero for me. I saw the utility Monero through privacy, and then Bitcoin, just the staple of crypto, especially then. And um, when I started to see in early 2018 the utility that you could build on some of these RC20s. I started to get involved, and I was really successful early on. The first couple of projects I invested in did 10x plus. One of them was an early project that McAfee promoted called Ghost, which was supposed to be like a ERC20 token that went to a side chain for privacy, and they were going to have a bunch of stuff. And it did really well, although I don't think they followed up on their utility, but it was a good short term investment for me. So
Hmm.
I got connected with this other developer that wanted to raise capital for a pre-sale. I had a decent amount of members in my group, so we got involved with that pre-sale, and I believe it was the first pre-sale I've ever got involved with. And through hosting this developer uh, and through communication with him from the pre-sale, he realized that I had a lot of experience in marketing and markets that he didn't have, and automated trading and building automated market making tools and some experience that he didn't have. He was more of a strictly coder. He understood how to code contracts fairly well. He was not a trader, and he did not understand markets to the degree that I did, and he understood that. So when I was getting involved with his pre-sale and raising, he started coming to me for advice, some advice on how to make a market, because this was in the very early days of Uniswap. So there were some other platforms that didn't have automated market makers, so you needed to make your own market using Python scripts and this kind of thing. And I had experience doing that. So through giving him advice, um, we ended up working together, and kind of my name spread a bit to other developers, and through that I ended up getting a bunch of other advisory roles, and hosting a bunch of pre-sales in my Discord. So we ended up raising hundreds of millions of dollars for dozens and dozens of projects. Maha DAO, Rio DAO, project called Legacy, a ton of projects. Trust Swap, Chain Gang or Chain Games, a ton of projects that turned out to be some of the biggest projects in like 2019, early 2020. I also got connected with the founders of Crypto Moonshots, which is the largest general cryptocurrency Telegram group.
Hmm.
Um, I was made an administrator there, and that got me connected to a bunch of other development teams that wanted to raise capital and
That's
get marketing and need have advisors, and that kind of leads me to 2019 when I saw an opportunity kind of to launch my own first project.
Yeah, that's a crazy set of events to go from studying chemistry in school to, having some support from your parents to get into Forex a little bit to buying some Bitcoin at crazy prices to raising millions of dollars for other crypto projects. That's pretty crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah, it happened pretty quickly. A lot of people, I mean, we were very early on. It's the very early days of smart contracts, and people had a wide variety of skills, and very few people had um, a solid foundation of all of the skills that you needed. So, especially in those days, it was easy to get your foot in the door. It still is, but it was especially easy to get your foot in the door there if you had any kind of useful skill, really.
Right, right. Yeah. So you were blessed with some good connections at the right times, and that's what it takes a lot of times is just to have those connections at the right time. So
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you next. I personally, I have the hobbies of I've been flying remote control airplanes for like 20 years. It's been a huge hobby of mine. I love everything aviation. I also do some photography. So I wanted to ask you, when you're not working, and of course you've been working your ass off lately, but when you do have spare time, what kind of hobbies do you enjoy?
Oh, my dad's actually a pilot. He doesn't do it for a career, but he flies
Oh,
planes
awesome.
as well. He loves it. Yeah. So I was actually just talking to him about planes a couple days ago.
I,
So
I saw your comment in Stunna's chat. They said you were going to buy a jet, or you were looking at a
I want to buy a jet. I see.
right.
A lot of people, a lot of wealthy people, want to buy like a Gulfstream or something like this, which is
Yeah,
the more sensible idea. But I'm
yeah.
like, I want to buy an F-18, or I want to buy a Super Hawk, or so, because it's just awesome. I did just watch what's that movie, that the new movie
The Top
with
Gun,
the fighter pilots.
Top Gun.
Um, Top Gun. Yeah, I did just watch the new Top Gun movie, so that kind of pushed me over to the edge. But that is something that I don't have regrets, but you know, you only you really only have one chance to fly the cutting edge fighter jets, and you
Right.
have to join the military to do that. And
Yeah.
I'm past the age and past the point where I'd want to join the military, and I kind of am
Uh
like, oh man, I kind of wish I did that. I
huh.
just to have the chance. But now that I see that you can actually buy jets, there's a ton of work, right? You need like plus
Oh
1,000 hours of flying that class of jet, and so it's a whole big deal. But I would love to do it one day. But
yeah.
my
I've.
hobbies right now,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah. But
Go ahead.
so my hobbies right now are, I work out. I work out for a couple hours a day. I like to ride dirt bikes. I like to ride quads. I, you know, I like to spend time with my family a lot. I just taught my nephew how to ollie on a skateboard. We spent like
Nice.
a couple hours in the backyard practicing on that. But martial arts. I've been into martial arts my whole life. I studied Taekwondo from the age of, I don't know, 5 years old until 12 or 13. I got into boxing. I joined one of the local clubs where I come from, where I grew up. There's a lot of famous boxers that came from there, and a lot of really good clubs. So I fought in a lot of tournaments, and just lower level stuff, more as a
Hmm.
sport and a hobby, but something I really enjoyed, and I still enjoy it to this day. I broke my leg in a ski accident, so I'm not super
I heard
active,
that.
but
Yeah.
I still enjoy the sport. Um, so yeah, I love riding street bikes. I have a Yamaha R1. I have a Honda not R6, a Honda CBR 600. Um, so you know, I love to do a lot of things, but I'm big into motorsports.
Nice. Well,
Yeah,
I've on the pilot front, I've got a an acquaintance of mine through the RC hobby that has a plane, and then I have another one that actually flies a L-39 Albatross.
I've
And
heard of an albatross. I don't know too much about planes. I've heard that name before though.
it's yeah, it's a fighter jet, not like a top end fighter jet, but anyway, he has a group of them up in Michigan area. So if I ever get the chance to it, I'll give you a call.
Yeah, yeah,
But
for
yeah,
sure.
I'm with you on that end. I would die to do something like that. It's
Well, you can.
well,
It's
yeah, if you got the money and the time,
it's
sure.
yeah. It's expensive. It's not as expensive as I thought it would be though. It's
Right,
like, it's expensive. Obviously, it's expensive. It's millions of dollars. But relative to buying like a new Gulfstream or something like this,
right.
it's well within that.
Yeah, for sure. So speaking of big money here, that leads right into my next question. I wanted to ask you if you would ever consider paying a chunk of money to go to space.
To go to space? Probably not. I don't have too much interest to going to space.
So then what kind of a once in a lifetime experience, I guess other than flying a fighter jet, would you pay for?
So let me think. Well, my mother has wanted a sailboat, her whole life, and I've been looking at sailboats for her, and I would like to do something for her, right, more than do something for myself.
Oh,
If
sweet.
I could book some kind of like expedition for her to go sailing around the world, or something like that, I would
Mm-hmm.
love to do that. For myself, if I want to do something, I do it. I've done all kinds of crazy things. I've done, skydiving and parasailing and bungee jumping in Vegas. I've done,
Nice.
a lot of crazy things. If I want to do something, I do it.
Sure.
I'm not as risk tolerant as I was when I was younger. Um, I don't. I used to like stunt my street bikes. Like the 600 I have was
Mm-hmm.
specifically for doing stunts. I don't do that anymore. Um, I wouldn't go skydiving again. Sometimes I got a lot of that stuff out of my system.
Right.
Um,
That comes
but
with age.
yeah, I think so. I want to do a bit more traveling. This there's not too much I want to do right now that I haven't done and can't do, but there's things that I would love for my family that I will do. It's
Yeah.
just like a matter of time.
Right. Yeah. That's sweet. So I heard on the AMA Friday with Dan that you like sci-fi movies. So I have to
Yeah.
ask: are you a Trekkie or a Star Wars fan?
I would say Star Wars.
All
So
right.
my my grandfather used to love Star Trek, and I was young, so I used to watch it with him sometimes. But I used to be bored to death just because I was like, I don't know, 6 years old or something watching it, and that
Right.
kind of turned me off to it because I was like not forced to watch it, but when you're a kid and that's what's on TV, that's what you watch. So
Sure.
I like Star Wars.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Star Trek is awesome, but it's not the epicness that Star Wars is. So that's where I
Hmm.
am too. Yep. So we all know that you have said that you want to make the best DeFi project in the space, but I'm wondering what drives and inspires you, and what kind of legacy do you want to leave?
So what inspires me is to build tools that I feel bring real utility and real use to people's lives. So tools that actually improve people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I see an opportunity to do that by taking some of the financial products that are utilized right now in traditional markets and bringing them to DeFi and removing some of those gates. So, all of us have experienced gates in our life that are sometimes they're fair, sometimes they're unfair. A lot of the times they're unfair. A lot of the financial gates are unfair. For instance, credited investing and the gatekeeping for accredited investors is something that I don't think I see the reasoning behind it. They don't want people that lack experience to be getting into what they could consider riskier investments. But I really feel it should be the choice of each investor to be able to decide how they utilize their capital. And I don't think we need some, nanny state telling people what they can and cannot do. And if we can remove as many of these gates as possible, but do it in a decentralized way and a trustless way, so sure there's risk because there's always risk in markets, but that risk isn't coming from some centralized party or some backroom stuff going on that investors are not made aware of. If we
Mm-hmm.
can do it in a way that's open source and that's trustless while removing those gates, that's the goal for me. And I love to build. I love problem solving. I love the development side of this. That's my favorite part is coming up with the game theory, solving problems. Really, that's my favorite part of it. So
The
that's what
architecting of it
drives me.
all.
Yeah, and that's what drives me more
Mm-hmm.
than anything because I just love doing it. If I wasn't getting paid to do this, I would still be here thinking about all of the different things we can build and all of this. and I would still be building it. When I built
Right.
my first project, I didn't know that it would take off at all. In fact, when I built Reap and I launched Reap, I didn't even tell anybody about it. I didn't tell any of my friends. I didn't tell the Moonshot Hunters group, which was the largest crypto Telegram group
Mm-hmm.
on all of Telegram. I didn't even tell them about it. I launched it, and I just wanted to see how it would do for a couple days. And then I saw, wow, people seem to be liking this. Let me know people, let me tell people, hey, this is mine. I did this. And the motivation at first was just see, can I build this? Can I build this? Is it going to be a success? And that's my main goal. Just, I love building. And what was the other question you asked?
What kind of legacy do you want to leave?
Yeah, so legacy isn't something that I think too much about. I want to create value when I'm here. I
Mm-hmm.
want to be able to ensure that I can do like everything to my power to ensure that my nephew and my future kids have a better life than I have. But I don't think too much about what's going to happen after I'm dead. I'm thinking, what can I do right now,
Sure.
and maybe a few years out. So I don't think too much about legacy. I want to do what I can while I'm alive, right here, and I think I can have an impact right now.
I think that's respectable. I mean, what you're doing now is leaving your legacy, so it kind of answers itself, right? And I think what you said about even if you weren't getting paid for this, which by the sounds of it, you really don't need to get paid for it. Of course, you should, but even if you weren't getting paid for it, it's still something you would think about and work on because it's something you love, and that's really the key to being happy and finding something that you love is that's when you're doing the right job for yourself, right? So that's awesome.
Yes. So the money that I've made for development doesn't make up 5% of the money that I've made over the past I don't know, few years. So
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
it's it's not my primary cash flow. And in fact, when I launched Reap and then I launched Drip, uh, there's no dev fee on Reap, zero dev fee, zero tax that go to me as a developer. I
Right.
get nothing from Reap. And then I brought on a partner, BB, to launch B Reap. And then B Reap is the same thing. No dev fee goes to me. There's no taxes that goes to me. Then so BB, my partner, was part of developing B Reap when really it was just taking um the Reap code and migrating it over to B Reap. So
Mm-hmm.
he didn't really have too much development side of it, but I brought him on because he was a skilled coder and it was something that we could just do that was very easy together and then decide maybe we'll work together in the future. Then we built Drip, which again had no dev fee, no tax that go to developers. And BB was like, dude, we've done two projects together. You've done three projects. You've made like dozens of millionaires. All these people are talking about their millions. We haven't made any money. We got to start making money. He's like, we just built Drip. We just built B Reap. Everybody has made more money off of Drip than I have, and
Right.
I helped code it. And for me, it's like that wasn't what interested me in doing it. And I make a decent amount of money from trading. And previously, I was really focused on developing different kinds of bots and automated DeFi trading stuff where I made a really large amount of capital. So I just didn't really care too much about putting fees on things.
Uh-huh.
So uh, really a lot of that motivation to even start putting any kind of dev fee or any kind of taxes were twofold. One of them is because I knew I could do better work if I could hire developers, and I knew that if I keep bringing on developers to build stuff that they don't make any money on, they're not going to stick around for too long.
Right.
And I knew that Reap and B Reap and Drip could be bigger if we had a better marketing budget. And for B Reap and Drip and Reap, I paid out of pocket for basically all of the marketing. and obviously, I could afford to do that, but it's
Hmm.
not very sustainable.
Right.
So then we started putting very small fees, really smaller than what the standard is for the space, to be able to fund development and fund marketing. And now recently, like if you listen to the past AMA, you know that we brought on a whole marketing team. I brought on a new project manager, brought on a CMO. We brought on a whole bunch of new developers. So this bit of capital that we've allocated, we're really making good use of it now as well. So it's it my main motivation for drip was that I knew that if we could, I knew these kind of daily ROI platforms had a strong market fit. I knew there was strong demand, and I knew the team referral structure is just a beast when it comes to onboarding and bringing in new users. And I saw it primarily as a vehicle that I could use to build up a huge investor base that we could then bring real utility to.
Yeah, and I think that's an important note that the majority of your projects don't have that developer fee, where others have like 8%, something crazy like that, and that goes a lot to your motivation for the project, and just your investment of it is more than just making money, right? So that's awesome.
Yeah, I could say I don't know. I can't give an exact number because I really don't even look at like the money that's coming in from projects. But I might have made maybe $1.5 million or something from uh, all of my development all
Hmm.
together, and we've had billions of dollars worth of TVL and volume. So
Right.
that it's our fee when you look at it relative to volume and TVL, it's like 0.0001% or something.
Right. And the fact that you have implemented some dev fees in the recent projects, no matter how small it is and being able to use that to help grow your team, which you obviously needed, I think
Yeah.
is a testament to the fact that you're here to stay, right? You want to grow this team, you want to be able to output quality product, and you can't do that alone. So you have to have some kind of a dev fee to be able to pay their salary.
Yeah, and pay for audits and all of these things. And
Right, that
another
too.
thing, you just kind of reminded me of this when I was just um, in a conversation with one of the auditing firms. A lot. So when you get an audit, oftentimes they're not just telling you potential issues with the code, they're also pointing out places where there may be a bit too much centralization, or if you wanted to, you could do this and access some small percentage of user capital or something like that. And in the last audit that we got, not for Animal Farm, but for a V1 actually, we made all kinds of sacrifices. For example, the V1 was doing our collateral rehypothecation, effectively the lending of our collateral to PancakeSwap, uh, syrup pool, their V1 syrup pool. We initially had in our contract the ability to switch from the V1 to V2 pool, which would have allowed us to easily transition over when we did that. And the auditors uh, were giving us a hard time about that, saying, if you could switch out the contract, then there's some small edge case that you could use it to switch it out to a contract that you could have control over, and all of these things. And this time, when we had a meeting with them, I was like, you know, look, guys, I understand you need to look for areas where we could have a bit too much centralization or something like that. But I think we're kind of past the point where people think that we're gonna do something crazy, like do some kind of scam or something like that. So please, we're paying you. Please put your focus on looking for actual issues in the code and testing the code. That's because a lot of these, I don't want to talk bad about auditors, but a lot of these auditors, they're not even testing the code. They're just reviewing the code, it seems like, and then looking at areas where there might be too much centralization, and that's fine. Like, you should do that, but you need to be, testing the code and really utilizing all the functions of the code to look for potential issues and looking for flaws in the logic, which these
Hmm.
auditing firms seem, I guess, they don't do, or they do very poorly. And there has been at least 3 projects which were audited by multiple auditing firms that I told the community, hey guys, this, I'm not talking about our projects, I'm talking about other projects in DeFi. And
Right.
this is an issue. There's an issue here. This can be flash loaned. This, I try not to give too many details because
Right.
I always reach out to the dev team first and say, hey, you know, you might want to think about changing this. Your logic is messed up. And oftentimes the response I get is, no, we ran this by our auditor. It's not an issue. And at that point, I'm not going to argue with them.
Yeah.
So I go to typically my DAO and say, look, guys, there's an issue with this. If you're invested in this, just consider it. And actually, I'm 6 for 6 doing that. So it's not been a couple, it's six. And I'm 6 for 6 on that. And all of these projects had multiple audits. Like, I don't want to call it the auditing firms, but they're well-known auditing firms and multiple of them.
Yeah,
So
that really makes you wonder about just the process of auditing and the value that everybody tries to put in it. It's just like they're paying all the money for the audits, but what good does it really do if it doesn't provide that security for the investors, right?
yeah, so for us, we are using a couple third-party auditing firms, but it's for branding more than anything. I mean,
Hmm.
we are obviously taking their audit into consideration, and we're asking them to give us, the most effective service that they can, but we're
Right.
not relying on them at all. Like, not
Exactly.
at all.
Right.
We don't even take it that serious. But people want to see that you have some third party auditing firm on your site. They want to see the branding there. But I actually hired 2 developers to come in just to do stress testing and auditing of our contracts. And I wanted to ensure that it was an independent developer that wasn't the one that was actually working on the code. Because when you're working on code and your nose is right up against the screen, it's hard to see issues that might be right in front of your face because you're
Hmm.
just too close to them. So we developed Scratchy, which is the first decentralized scratch ticket protocol, which will be launching later this year, and we finished development with it. So I had 2 really good developers, like some of the best developers I've ever worked with, who were just kind of waiting around for us to launch Animal Farm before we can deliver a Scratchy. So I brought them on. I cut them in, and I hired them specifically to look at our finished code, audit our finished code, and then test it on a side chain that we launched, which is
Hmm.
a fork of Binance Smart Chain. So it's a mainnet. All of the transactions are taking place on mainnet. It's just a sidechain mainnet, but it's exactly the same as we were doing it on BSC.
Right.
And he's been spending the past month, and will be spending the next month, just developing every single kind of test, automated test he can, to be running all of the functions hundreds of thousands of times with a crazy amount of volume. And this is how you find issues.
Right. Right.
Like, you
I
can
mean,
find some issues by looking at the code, and he did look at the code, but you really need to do extensive testing. And
absolutely.
a lot of projects are not doing that. And I don't know any projects that have hired developers just independent developers just to come on to do auditing and testing. But we
Right.
recognize the huge investor base that we have, and we want to set a new standard, not just in the products we deliver, but the quality and the security. So I feel like we're taking it to the next level, and it's something that was absolutely necessary.
Yeah, and I think we all appreciate that. It's like, so I'm a software developer too. I have been for forever. But so in my in my eyes, doing the security review is like handing your code over to a third party, and they do like checks and balances on it, and basic tests, and like make sure all the syntax is right, all that kind of stuff. And they're like, yeah, it looks good, but it's not the same as doing a peer review and handing it to your coworkers and having them, like you said, stress test it and run it through the gamut. It's a totally different process. So I think
Yeah,
we,
so
yeah.
we're writing a bunch of frameworks using JavaScript to
Hmm.
then operate the Solidity code, uh, all integrated into the whole ecosystem. So we forked the whole ecosystem, all of the contracts, hooked it up to our website, our new UI, and then have written a bunch of JavaScript, which is calling all of the functions and running a bunch of transactions as if the platform was live. And we've been
Right.
doing that for the past month, and we're going to
Yeah.
continue to do that until the
Yeah.
point of launch.
We use Salinity end-to-end tests as well, so I'm very familiar with that. That's awesome. All right,
Yeah.
so I want to move into a serious alpha question that has never been asked. Everybody wants to know, and we've got what 350 people watching. I know everybody wants to
That,
know the answer to this, so I'm going to move the slide out forward. Forex, can we dox your dog? Everybody wants to know. It's something that comes up in every AMA. Your dog always barks at the door, whatever it is, but we never know what your dog's name is or what breed it is. So let us know what.
oh my god. My dog has a funny. My dogs have funny names. Are you there?
Yeah, yeah. Well, go ahead.
Oh, I'm getting some feedback. So I don't know. The CIA doesn't want you guys to know my dog's name. So yeah. So my nephew named my dogs. I have a nephew who's 9 years old now. My dogs are a couple years old. One of them's 2 years old, and the other one is 4 years old. So he named the dogs when he was 4 and 6,
Okay.
and one of them's name is Dude, and the other one's name is Pikachu. So
Pikachu, awesome.
uh, yeah, so I just call him Dude, and then Pikachu, I call him Pika or Piki or Monkey or all kinds of names. But
Nice.
uh,
What breed
yeah,
are
they're
they?
crazy. So the older one, Dude, he is an Irish Wolfhound crossed with some Shepherd,
Okay.
and the little one is you know I can't remember. I've adopted my dogs, so we get them from a local shelter.
Okay.
So we didn't get them from a breeder.
Yeah.
So so
So it's a mutt.
they
Yeah.
are. Yeah, I don't.
So it's
The
so,
name is not coming to mind. So those. It's a little white dog. Little white dog. Not
a
not a
Shih Tzu.
Maltese.
A Shih Tzu.
Yes, yeah,
All
a
right.
Shih Tzu mixed with something else, but a Shih Tzu. Mostly, he looks like a Shih Tzu.
Okay.
I
So
think.
we were wondering if the drawing, the dog drawing that you came up with that you posted, is that one of your dogs there?
Uh, looks similar.
Yeah.
Looks similar to the small one.
Nice. All
Hmm.
right. So we got Dude and Pika. Nice. All right. Now we know. Thank you. Everybody can blame Dude. Which one is the usual one? Which one is the one that usually barks at the door?
Pika, the little one. It's always the little ones that are loud, and
Yep.
he's very stubborn. And if he wants your attention, or like if I'm sitting at the counter and he wants me to sit on the couch so he can come sit next to me, he'll be barking at me. If there's someone new here, he'll be barking. He barks all the time. He's barking, and he'll run up. Like if he wants to go aside or whatever, I'll be walking. He'll run up and bite my foot, or he'll scratch my foot, get my attention. He's really bossy and uh, a crazy little dog.
Nice. Well, odd pet names are no stranger here. My cat's name, who you might have heard whine just a little while ago,
Yeah, I heard.
uh, her name is Turtle because she's a tortoise shell breed.
Yep,
Looks like has the brown and caramel colors like a turtle sundae, so we
yep.
named her Turtle.
That's funny. Yeah,
All
I've
right,
had I've had weird dog names that I named. I had a dog named Cubert, a pug named Cubert. So
nice,
I
nice.
can't really blame it all on my nephew, right?
Right.
Weird.
Yep.
You gotta have fun with your pet names.
Oh yeah, that's half the fun of it. All right, so now now that we've got that alpha news out of the way, I wanna move into drip. Um, so I don't know if you saw it, but I recently did a video on how drip is helping people change the lives, not only their own lives, but lives of people around them in their community or around the world. I'm wondering, have you heard of Drip Community Alliance?
So I have heard of it. I'm not in the group, but I have heard of it. Let me just plug in some headphones real quick.
Sure.
Okay, I think I can hear you now. My headphones.
Okay. So
Okay, yeah.
so yeah, I've speaking of you
I
not being
have
in the
seen the group. I have seen the group, but I don't know if I'm a member of the Telegram group, but I know that it exists.
well, I can fix that. I will send you a link. They would love to talk to you. I was talking to them this morning, so I'll send you private or a link to their private group. But
Yeah, please.
but a little more information on what they're doing because their goal in the community is really the best that I've seen to date. And what they did was they set up a drip wallet for their orphanage down in South Africa, and the orphanage has full control of the drip wallet. And but all the donations from their team or from whoever hears about the DCA group can donate to their orphanage. Just with the compounding factor and all that, they're able to use drip to help make improvements to their building and buy anything that they need for the kids and all that stuff. So it's been really
That is
awesome
awesome.
just to see what they've been doing. But
Yeah, that's great.
yeah,
We've had a few charity type of events happen with Drip, and I try to promote them when I see them. So if you give me the info on that, I can promote it. Yeah, we had
absolutely.
in Cambodia. Um,
Drip and
I
Farm for
believe it
Poverty.
was I I believe it was Christmas maybe. We bought a bunch of gifts and a bunch of food for a village there. And in South Africa, we built a well. And in South Korea, we ended up paying for housing for some North Korean defectors to South Korea. So there's
Hmm.
been a lot of great things that the Drip community has been able to put together.
Yeah, absolutely. Besides DCA, we've got Drip and Farm for Poverty doing working with a charity there in Cambodia. We've got Jonathan from Drip Farm, has set up the charity, or not set up, but connected with a charity that builds wells in third world countries, and it's just been it's been awesome to see all that. Plus, we have the Drip Testimonials group, and just seeing people talk about their own changes in their own lives. So I
Yeah.
wanted you kind of touched on it already, but I was wondering like what kind of life changing ways have you been witness to since you've started Drip and the animal farm, and something that made
Oh.
you stand back and say like, wow, I was a part of this. I did this.
Well, other than what I just mentioned, one thing that really was awesome for me was when COVID came and so many people had been basically lost their job, and some people even
Mm-hmm.
lost their businesses.
Yeah.
And I knew some people that were able to get by on Drip, and literally without Drip, they probably would have lost their house, and not being able to just pay their bills, but they were able to get by because of Drip, and it lasted them. It's still continuing to to make cash flow for them, but it got them by in a time when they
Right.
couldn't work for over a year. There's another guy who his parents were losing their house. He was able to save his parents' house. You know,
Mm,
you pay off their debt for their house. I know there was someone who had a medical procedure that they really need that they were able to pay for. So there's been so many stories, you know, and we've made at least a dozen millionaires with drip, and that's
sure.
great. You know, making millionaires, when you make a millionaire, you're giving someone the power to change other people's lives.
Right.
But when you see someone that was going to lose their house, that now is able to save their parents' house, or someone that had a
Mm-hmm.
serious medical condition that were able to, you know, to take care of that, it it really reinforces why we're doing this, and the importance of us really ensuring that we're dotting our i's and we're crossing our t's. And we know that people have money that was put away for their kids, that they put some percentage of that in our protocols.
Yep.
And I always tell people, of course, never invest more than you're willing to never risk more than what is within your risk tolerance.
Yep.
But I understand that even people that, of course, are investing within their risk tolerance, still, you know, it's still their capital, and sometimes it's what they're depending on. So I take it extremely serious. I take everything we decide to do extremely serious, and that's I feel like we're some of the fastest developers as far as getting things out there, but I've turned down a lot of opportunities to do a lot of things that probably would have had some short term benefit or caused some excitement for a couple months, but would have been detrimental over time. And moving forward, I'm going to be even more careful, and even play chess even more when it comes to what we develop and what we put out there. Because of course, some of the things we've done have been because the community was asking for them. There was
Mm-hmm.
a ton of demand for them, um, and they were very positive on the price. So that's great, and of course we'll continue to do what's best for the price of the investors. But I want to ensure that everything we do, there's a serious fundamental reason behind it. It's providing a new strong utility, a new strong use case. It's something that is that has a time frame that is going to develop over the next few years, not just something that's exciting for a week. Um, you know, if I was just to give one example of something that might have been more short term, which today I've learned from that, and I probably wouldn't do that again. We had a partnership with a project. This is why we initially decided to launch Animal Farm. So we needed to incentivize people to add liquidity to our native assets, specifically drip at the time, because we want drip to be liquid. We want there to be a large decentralized liquidity pool, and we wanted liquidity on PancakeSwap. That way, we could get access to all these analytic sites and get access to all of the charting platforms. So initially, we thought, well, let's just partner.
You still there? You got me now? Yeah, Forex, I cannot hear you. It doesn't show that you're talking. Hang on, folks. Technical difficulties. Forex either. All right, let me try restarting. Yep.
Hello.
There we go.
Hello.
Got you. Yep,
Oh,
got you. Five
good.
by five.
Hi. I don't know where I dropped out. I think it was probably an issue with Telegram. Where did I drop out?
You were talking about, well, just changing people's lives and the importance of every choice that you make right now. But
Oh yeah. So did I start talking about a partner that we had?
yes, that's where it was. Yep.
Okay. So yeah. So I wanted to create incentive for adding liquidity to the drip token. So we decided to partner with a farm. Now this farm, uh, we ensured that all their contracts were immutable, all their contracts were open source. Anybody that added liquidity to their farm, there was no custodial control by those developers, so they couldn't take the money. So we ensured that everything was safe and legit, and we launched it, and it was very great for the drip price. We added a ton of liquidity, like millions of dollars worth of liquidity to drip on PancakeSwap. The price did I don't know, maybe a 3x or something from it. And it was very positive. Then the farm, for whatever reason, the developers, they could have just left it running. They could have just done nothing, and the project would have just kept going. For whatever reason, they decided we want to take a step back from doing this and move on to another project or something, and they like shut down the website or something stupid. Uh, Anyways, my point of saying this is it still went very well. The price of drip still did very well. We didn't have a correction when that happened. Everything kept progressing. The price kept pumping. All of the liquidity, remained. Um, and of course, they didn't have control over any of the capital, so people were just able to remove their tokens from the site, and everything went moving on. But it's just an example of going with something that was positive on the short term, but might have not have had a real longer term vision behind it. And
Right.
these are things that we've learned from, and you know, we've never lost investor capital. We've never had any kind of major hack. We've never had
Right.
any kind of major exploit. But there's always something that you can learn, and we've been doing this for a long time now, and we're just continuing to improve. And these little things here and there really just give us a framework to improve. And this is really that situation was when we decided, all right, if we want to have incentive to add liquidity to drip, and um, we want to have some sort of yield to aggregating protocol, we got to do it ourselves. If you want it done right, you got to do it yourself.
Right.
That's kind of the way it has to be, and um, and that was really the motivation behind Animal Farm.
Yeah, so it's so great to hear how seriously you're taking this, because not only are you dealing with millions of dollars in locked liquidity, right? You're dealing with people's lives in the end. Where, like you said, this should be risk capital. Don't invest what you're not ready to lose. Crypto is the wild wild west and all that, but as you said, you saw times during COVID where people were able to use drip as their safety net, because everybody should have an emergency fund and all that, but sometimes people can't do that or for whatever reason, or or that goes to another purpose. And to have drip as that safety net, where not only can it provide that momentary income supplement, but it can multiply and compound over time to help grow their wealth if they can hang on to it that long. So it's just
Yeah.
one of those great
My,
things.
my long term strategy, and this of course is just my strategy. It's not advice for anybody, but
Mm-hmm.
I like to get into investments that have strong fundamental value and a solid roadmap, and then I continue to accumulate assets and compound my position in these assets. And I look for dividend generating and yield generating assets. This way, I can survive mostly off the dividends. And I tend to, it's going to vary based on your position and your risk tolerance, but I tend to look for 3 to 5% a year that I take as profit from my investments, and the rest I compound. The rest of the dividends and the rest of the appreciation I compound back into the asset, and this is how I've been able to accumulate my wealth, and how I went from a position of being having $2,000 that my parents gave me to trade options to now being a
Right.
multi-deca millionaire. You
Right.
have to get into solid assets, and you can't you know active trading can be done by a very, very small percentage of people, and it's almost all insiders and people that have a regulatory advantage.
Yep.
That's who's making money when it comes to trading. So if you want to make money in the long term, it's about accumulating assets, earning yield through dividends, or earning yield through some kind of low risk leverage, and then taking taking some small percentage as a cash flow, that profit, and using the rest to compound back into these strong assets. And it's really the long term holders and the people with a vision that are actually the ones that are doing well in crypto. It's the people that bought Bitcoin at $100 and sold it for a 5x. They probably felt great at the time, but the people who continue to accumulate their position in Bitcoin, continuing to DCA and taking out their 3 to 5% annually, or maybe for you it's 3 to 5% monthly. But really, you want to ensure that the vast majority of capital is continuing to accumulate these strong assets. Those are the people that actually built wealth.
Exactly, and that's what a lot of my channel is about. Strictly passive income. I want to be as lazy as my cat is during the day, all while earning money. So that's what a lot of my videos try to focus around. Other than drip, even just different passive income streams that are easy to do. Uh, some of them are really easy for people just getting into crypto or interested in crypto, helping them build those Bitcoin bags a little bit. So it's really about
Yeah.
just getting that passive income zone.
With
So
Animal Farm,
yeah,
the whole game theory and design behind Animal Farm was to develop a system that allows the average investor and really anybody that knows the bare minimum about DeFi to earn through a dividend model.
right,
This dividend is paid out like a true dividend, like a dividend that you get in equities, where the dividend that you're getting paid out is not in the asset that you're accumulating. So
right,
this allows you to accumulate the asset, take the 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 dividend asset that you're earning and utilize it to accumulate more of the underlying asset, and also secure profit in that way. So everything that we've built Animal Farm around was to allow people to earn wealth in the optimal way. The way that I would teach someone who is new to finance how I would recommend that they would manage their finance. And
mm,
Animal Farm has that as its game theory, where the people who are earning the most yield are the people that are managing their capital in a way that result the people that manage their capital in a way that results in long-term wealth and wealth accumulation. The Telegram's kind of acting up a little bit.
yep, I gotcha. We're good so far. All right, so
Okay.
let me move on to the next question here. We've got kind of a question slash concern around minting. Now I know you've been talking about minting in a couple of the AMAs, but there was a
Uh-huh.
couple like angles that I wanted to take on this, and I know you've talked about circulating supply versus total supply, and a lot of people look at the total supply, which is at like nearing 2 million right now.
Mhm.
and where like circulating supply is really what we should be looking at. But I think what a lot of
Uh-huh.
people are wondering is what if the supply that's being locked through drip and through the other parts of the ecosystem, what if that supply being locked doesn't exceed the rate of minting? Does that not like damage the price level?
Well, so it depends, right? If what reduces the price of any asset in a decentralized market are those tokens going into the liquidity pool, being swapped out for some other paired asset, so BUSD or BNB. The supply of drip is relative to the demand of drip in the faucet contract. So when the demand for the faucet contract is higher, the supply of drip in the faucet tax pool is also going to be increased, and the supply does not need to increase to pay out dividends in the faucet. Now,
Mm-hmm.
when the demand for drip is higher in secondary contracts, then those secondary contracts are not inflationary, so they never have the potential to mint drip.
Mm-hmm.
But that if that capital or that drip is being migrated to secondary contracts, then it's not going into the tax pool, or less is going into the tax pool, because the way drip goes into the tax pool is twofold. When someone transacts it, 10% is sent to that tax to the tax pool, to the faucet uh, vault,
Mm-hmm.
and when someone sends drip to the faucet, that drip is sent to the faucet vault. So the taxes alone on people sending drip to these secondary contracts are supporting the vault and are sending it to the faucet vault, but people actually using the faucet itself is what's going to send the most drip to the vault. So the supply of drip is it's kind of irrelevant to the price without more context. So
Okay.
if the supply of drip is increasing, but the demand for drip in the various contracts are also increasing, then the amount of drip which is hitting the market, which could actually reduce the price, is decreasing. If the demand for drip and the demand for these secondary contracts decreases, then of course it's going to have it's going to cause sell pressure on drip. The same as any other you know tradable asset. When you have a lack of demand, you're going to have a correction in price. Now with drip, we know that the increase in supply has not had a substantial negative impact on the price, because when you look at the yield that drip has generated through the faucet and you look at the price performance, we're moving on par with the rest of the market while paying out significant yield. If those additional tokens that are being used to allocate dividend payout were hitting the market, then we would be severely underperforming all of these other altcoins, which were overperforming. When you
Right.
factor in yield, we've outperformed all of the major altcoins. So what we're preparing to do is deliver several new utilities for drip, and that is the animal farm. And when we
Mm-hmm.
launched V1 of the animal farm, that's when drip did a 10x,
Right.
and we have significant more users now, and animal farm is significantly better, and we have a significantly better marketing plan too. So I expect to see a, a significant price appreciation in drip, but those drip are not going to the faucet contract. So we this is just an example of how we're likely going to see a significant increase in the price of drip, even though the supply could increase slightly. because that drip is not going to the tax vault. So the tax vault will need to create drip to pay out those dividends.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have a you can't have a platform where you're guaranteeing a dividend payout without being able to address supply in some way,
Sure.
because you're going to need to address the supply in times of lower demand, so especially lower demand for the contract that's paying out the dividends. So we kind of have a multifold strategy. Uh, we're delivering several new products for Drip that are secondary contracts, not
Mm-hmm.
actually the vault, not actually the faucet. We have a marketing strategy that we're going to be putting in place that's going to help promote Drip by promoting these secondary platforms which are utilizing Drip, and then we have two products that are going to be delivered specifically for drip and the faucet and the reservoir contract, and this is going to drive a huge wave of drip into the tax vault. And in this case, you're hitting kind of the other side of the supply issue, where not only is drip being staked in these secondary contracts, which is removing it from supply, so it's removing it from supply that's outpacing what the faucet is generating, but also with these specific products for drip on the drip platform, they're when people utilize these products that we're building for the drip platform, the drip that they're staking in it goes to the tax vault. So it's
Right.
actually sending their whole principal to the tax vault, and that's going to give a wave of new users using the faucet as well, which will address the supply issue as well. But any any asset which is paying out significant yield in DeFi or in traditional markets is going to need to have some variable supply. It's
Sure.
just inevitable. You
Right.
need to be able to address that. And if you look at Drip's variable supply versus I don't know, PancakeSwap or any of these other platforms, they are producing tokens at a much faster rate than we're producing while paying out a significantly lower yield.
Mm-hmm.
So there's and with drip, with the circulating supply, we've seen both, right? We've seen the supply greatly reduce when a ton of people are using the faucet, and we're talking about circulating supply because those tokens are not actually being burned, they're just going to a tax vault and removed from circulation.
Right.
So we've seen the circulating supply. uh, so there's a bit of a misconception. So when people look at the drip supply on the drip site, it's showing the circulating supply. So when people, it's showing the circulating supply outside of the faucet. So uh, we on the new UI, we need to show our analytics a little bit better,
Mm-hmm.
because I think people might have looked at that and saw, okay, the supply is significantly less than a million, and they think that that is the total supply when really that was the circulating supply. And then when capital is leaving the faucet and going to these secondary contracts like the Drip Garden, like the PancakeSwap LP, like the farm, it looks like the supply is greatly increasing because it's basically looking, the display on the drip site is showing the circulating supply the outside of the faucet, not displaying that 83% of that circulating supply that was created has moved over to the PancakeSwap liquidity pool, and another huge percentage is locked up in the drip garden. So if you look, if you were to do the math on how much the circulating supply has increased, so the supply itself has gone from around 1 million to around 2 million, but the circulating supply has only increased by maybe 15%. And that's right now with the farm not active, with these
Right.
other products. So once the farm goes live, that extra 15%, I mean, that's gonna dry up instantly. And
Yeah.
then all the other products that we have to deliver, and specifically the products which are going to be supporting the faucet in general. That so it just it's for someone that understands the ecosystem and sees exactly what's going on. It's relatively simple to deduce all of these things, but for the maybe the average person or someone who's not up to the average person yet, you just
Hmm.
see the supply increasing and you think, oh, that's a bunch of new tokens that are being traded right now. Well, that's not the case. And creating a couple products specifically for the faucet, specifically for the reservoir, that will uh, that will address the issue in a way that it will address the issue in a way that will be a lot simpler for the average user, or maybe the even more uninformed user can understand probably. And
So
that's something that with the new UI we need to work on. And this is why I hired James from DevStreak to really have some very strong analytical tools on the new UI to really make it easier for the average user to understand what's going on as far as our supply analytics and these kinds of things.
right. So are the new drip utilities that are coming out for Animal Farm and for the layer two stuff, is that a hard lock thing like the faucet in the garden, or is it a soft lock like the Animal Farm drip BUSD pool?
Well, so the two new products that we're creating specifically for drip are built on top of the faucet and built on top of the reservoir as a secondary option. So it
Okay.
allows you to get into the faucet or get into the reservoir with a bit extra utility. So you use this contract, and now you're still going into the same tax vault. The dividend payout and all of these things are the same, but there's a bit of extra gamification, right? You have uh, there's a few things that we want to do, right? There, yeah, I don't want to leak all of them. One of
Sure.
them is a type of raffle type of system.
Hmm.
Another one, another utility is a model that is rewarding people that are larger depositors in the system to encourage people to make larger deposits and
Hmm.
remain in the system longer. Uh, and then we have some other utility that we are looking at, it, you know, from the perspective of uh, effectively insuring stakes. So
Okay.
you have an issue where your stake is compromised,
Right.
you're paying a little bit of your dividend every day to a backup. So if your wallet is compromised, we can freeze that account so it's not going to hackers, and you get a payout through this kind of insurance that you've been paying towards. So
Gotcha.
there's a lot of extra utility that we can add specifically to the faucet and the reservoir that supports them, and it will never replace the the core contracts though.
Hmm.
The people that love drip the way it is and don't want to change a thing, you'll always have access to the faucet and the reservoir exactly as it is today. This is just an alternative contract that is built on top of them, which utilizes them, and you could just decide to use these
Got it.
extra utilities or not.
So this layer two is coming out sometime shortly after the new drip UI, correct?
Yeah, so I don't want to do, I don't want to hit everybody with everything at the same time. The
Hmm.
roadmap right now is Animal Farm. Well,
Well,
let's just break it
I've
all
got a
down.
roadmap slide later, so we can hit that up. I was just curious
Okay.
about, since we were talking about layer two, I just was curious on the timing of that because it's going to be shortly after the new UI, right?
Yeah, I can lay it all out if you want, but we can wait till the
Okay,
roadmap slide comes
yeah,
up.
let's hit that later then. So a quick question on like would a burn mechanism when the supply gets over a high watermark make sense at all to keep circulating supply reasonable? Is there like pros and cons to a lock versus burning?
yeah, you don't want to burn drip. So burning drip, all you're doing is taking drip that could have gone to the tax vault to pay out a dividend, and removing it from the supply.
Hmm.
But if that drip is not in the tax vault, then the tax vault will just create that drip to pay it out. So you're just you're you can remove that step by just sending the drip directly to the tax vault.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. So speaking of the new website, we've got a couple screenshots here of stuff that you've posted, and the first one that you leaked to us was way back in March, and you posted the movie clip of a little animation of the new Drip UI, and then in April you posted that the Drip UI was built. So some of us are wondering. I think I lost you.
No, you didn't lose me. I just muted myself for a second.
Oh, okay. So some of us were wondering, like, why was the new Drip UI not launched back then? Was there something going on, or was that just bad timing with the Pancake Swap contract change, or what happened there?
Yeah, so I mean, there's only so much that our team can do at the same time, and we had the design created. So when I posted those, we had the design created in Figma. Figma is, well, you might know what Figma is, but
Yep, yep,
Figma
yep.
is, for people that don't know, is basically a templating design software where you can create designs and do web design without actually doing the back end code for it. So when I had posted that, we had finished the design for Drip.
Gotcha.
The actual back end code was not developed. The design for Drip was the new design was developed, and then um, we started working on, well, we continued to work on Animal Farm. One of the developers that we had brought on was uh, we were having issues with him delivering. It was delay after delay after delay. So I ended up letting go of him,
Right,
and it caused maybe a month and a half or so of delay because I knew that, well, maybe it caused maybe 2 months worth of delay because I knew that getting rid of him and replacing him would take at least a couple weeks to
right,
get the other person I bring in up to speed with what he was doing. And I knew that this had kind of been a recurring issue with him where we would have something that needed to be done, the deadline for it would come around, and he wouldn't deliver on it. We'd put a lot of pressure on him, and then maybe 2 or 3 days later, he would have the whole thing done. So this had been kind of happening, and it was getting a little worse and a little worse. And but I knew it was going to cause more delay if I had to get rid of him. So I
hmm,
was hesitant to do it, and I wanted to give him a few chances. But then finally got to the point where um, we're we cannot stomach any more delay, and I need to basically make a strong decision right here. We need to just make the
right.
decision to move on and replace him. And since we replaced him, we've been cooking with fire, right? We're really
Yeah.
just killing it. He was the one that did the initial drip design.
Okay.
So I brought on another developer. So I brought on James. Right? I brought James Devstreet, who built one of the
Hmm.
alternative UIs for Drip. That's built a lot of really cool tools for Drip. I brought him on specifically because he could help with building some of the new analytical tools and give us some ideas for that. And I brought on the devs who worked with me for Scratchy. So I brought on the back end dev, the Solidity and contract dev, to do the auditing and testing for our Animal Farm stuff, and I brought on the front end dev for Scratchy to help us with our front end so we could get it done faster. So you know, so we could get caught up, so we could meet our deadlines. And since then, we've just been killing it. We've been knocking it all out of the park. Um, but James, since we have the design for Drip ready, and we're not going to launch it until after Animal Farm goes live, I brought James in to help work on the Pigpen game, right? The
Gotcha.
Dogs of Fortune hacker game, and I can't wait. Next week we'll be releasing some screenshots and some not Figma but actual like usable working coded UI
Mm-hmm.
of the new game, and I mean we're it's really really awesome.
Looking
So
forward to that.
people are going to be blown away when they see it because it's not like any crypto game you've ever played, right? All the
Right.
crypto games you've ever played, they're basically they're glorified staking contracts with maybe some very slight animation. Where ours, it's a whole thing. Like you're completely immersed in the UI. So the UI feels like a whole operating system where you're going on different hacker forums to recruit hackers. You're buying, login credentials and access to, fake IDs from the dark web market. You're you're giving access to your infected servers to some of the hacker groups that you're working with for access to their tools. You're hacking other people in the game. You're using a terminal to navigate. You can also use desktop icons to navigate. Um, it's There's special like secret characters that you get, and we had a lot of fun with that. People are gonna laugh when they see some of the characters that you can get because they're pretty funny. We had fun with that, and then there's a really cool use for drip as well. So people see that as soon as it goes live. It has to do with like leaderboard stuff and teams, that kind of thing. Um I wanted, so we initially built the initial UI for the game, and I wasn't happy with it because it was like a lot of the other DeFi games are. It was
Right.
awesome. Well, as far as the UI was, similar to how some of the other DeFi games are, but the underlying contracts were next level. I mean, just crazy, crazy next level. So I wanted a UI that represented that, and and James does some really good UI work. Plus, he's a big investor in Drip. He knows the community very well.
Yep.
So I put him on that, along with another developer that I brought on board who does games. So he's been building games since 2018. He has some really good mobile games, and he built some stuff in DeFi as well. So I brought him on specifically to make sure it's balanced and actually fun to play. Like I didn't want to just build a game, just have a bunch of DeFi devs
Right.
and like
Right.
finance devs building a game. I wanted to make sure we had a real game dev to come on to make sure it's fun
Yeah, because
and
otherwise
balanced.
people aren't going to play it. They're going to enter into it and then realize it's not fun, so they're just going to exit out, right? So yeah.
Well, people will play it because there's a profit motive there.
Right, but they're
So
more
there's going to
inclined
be
to
a
stay if
ton
they're
of
having
people.
fun, you know.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah. So people are going to come for the profit, but I believe they're going to stay, and they're going to stay longer because it's fun and they're progressing and they're attacking their friends and they're taking
Right.
each other out. And so so we I put all of our resources right now into Animal Farm and the Animal Farm game because Animal Farm's going to go live, and
Mm-hmm.
then a couple weeks after that, the game's going to go live,
Right.
and then very shortly after that, the drip site's going to go up. But as soon as the Animal Farm UI and the game UI is finished, then I have 3 or 4 uh, full time developers to put their full focus into drip. So we can get that done very very quickly. Like the UI itself, we can get done in a couple weeks. So
Yeah, and I think
uh,
that was the biggest question that people had. Is like we know making a website isn't very uh, you know time intensive overall. So I guess the question was
well,
why when you said the drip UI is completed, why was it not launched soon after? But I understand now that it was the mock-ups of it that you had done and not the actual code behind. So that makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, and also people who say that may not know uh, the complexity of the drip UI. All of
Sure,
the
sure.
team stuff, all of the team stuff, the pricing, like how we have the price chart and all of that. That's that's handled by the UI. So all of the team mapping, the airdrops, all of that stuff is UI stuff. And we didn't want to just have a prettier version of the current model because there's things that can be improved upon,
Right,
like the
right.
managerial system, like the airdropping system, so people don't have to approve every single airdrop. They
Yes,
can
thank you.
choose the people they want to airdrop to and do it one transaction. Uh, there's we want to build a bunch of new tools for it to really allow the user a much better experience and if someone, for example, if someone has the ability to see, okay, if I keep compounding at this rate, uh, in 1 month I'll have 2 drip. In 3 months I'll have 5 drip. If you can display models in ways that are really easy for the user to understand, they're more likely to play out those models rather than just kind
Right.
of them winging it. So we want to
Okay.
be able to provide all of those tools. This is all stuff that needs to be built. Like I never do something that's just purely cosmetic. If we're gonna do a new site, we're gonna really bring a lot more value to it.
Yeah, and I think we're all excited to see those new tools, especially the team leaders. That's going to be huge. But I'm
Yeah.
gonna cut that off because we're running a little long. So I want to move on to the animal farm. So
Yep.
speaking of site upgrades, right? We went from version 1 to version 2, and now we got this version 3 coming out, which is beautiful, by the way. I love it. Um,
Yeah. Much
but
better.
there was some question as to, I guess, why version 2 never fully fleshed out. Like, why was it designed when, or did version 3, the design idea for that just come out of the work of things, and you realized that you needed a new site from V2?
It comes with hiring uh, UI devs who are devs specifically focused on building in institutional grade websites and UIs. So
Okay.
previous previous to this website, everything has been built between me and BB,
Right.
and BB is not a UI dev. He's not a website dev, and neither am I.
Mm.
And I have I have some knowledge of building websites. Like the first couple projects, I built the websites myself. The first couple projects, Reap and B Reap, I built those contracts myself. But uh, I'm not a like
Sure.
top
Right.
of the line cutting edge website dev, and neither
Right.
is BB. BB's a very good Solidity dev, and he's
Mm-hmm.
good with JavaScript, and he's okay with React. But you really need to be great at React to be doing a cutting edge UI. So we were limited. We were limited on our ability, and we were limited on our resources. So, uh, well, like this past 4 or 5 months, a huge focus of mine has been team building and actually doing the building behind the scenes to be in a much better place when it comes to both developing but also marketing and also communication between the team uh, and quality. So it's just about adding members to our team that have a greater ability. And
Okay.
of course, I always want to build things to the best of our ability, and
Right.
we always have. Uh, it's uh,
So
it's about improving.
it's not that the V2 site was a waste of time. It's just that you have a much better team now, which can build a better project. So use those UI resources while you have them to build something even better, right?
Yeah, I've always had a vision. Well, let me just give you like a reason why we use those old UIs. So PancakeSwap has a code base which is very easy to integrate for a website. And PancakeSwap has their farms and pools template, which is it's not easy. There's nothing really easy, but if it's the easiest type of farms and pools template to integrate. So that's why a bunch of yield farms utilize this PancakeSwap layout. And
Gotcha.
BB, not being like a cutting edge reactive, used this PancakeSwap layout. And it never sat well with me in the sense that I knew if we get the right person on board, we can do better. And it was just a matter of getting the right people on board, which is not easy. So, because I'm very hesitant to bring people in and
Right.
and put our reliance on other people. But what did it for me was that we already built out Scratchy. So I already saw this developer's work, and I saw that they're able to do high quality work. They're very reliable, and it was low risk for me with Scratchy because if he didn't do good work with Scratchy, no big deal. Uh, I'll hire someone else and we'll just continue to do it till it's done. But with Animal Farm, it's a bit more higher pressure because everybody's waiting for it. There's like investors that are waiting for it to come out. So I didn't want to just put anybody on the job. So it was me and BB, and we were going to get it done until I found someone that we could really hang our hat on, which happened with Scratchy. And all of Scratchy development happened over the past 4 or 5 months while we were preparing to launch as V2. So
Gotcha.
I've been team building and working on building our team. That's taken up, I don't know, maybe I don't know, 30% or 50% of my time
Right.
just meeting with people, doing interviews, having them do some like low level hanging fruit stuff. We've turned down a ton of people, like I don't know, a half a dozen people at least that we had interviews with that they actually started building some stuff and we turned them down because their work wasn't quality enough, or
Hmm.
some people we turned down because they gave us their work history and we weren't happy with what they'd done in the past, or so
Okay.
it's just about having taking advantage of the resources that we have, and we're in a
Right.
much better place now than we were say 6 months ago.
Absolutely. So, a question on the new site. We on the V2, you added an LP creation page.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if we can get a more full functional there, so we can create pig or dog LPs, and then even break the LPs. Because right now we have to go to PancakeSwap to break the LPs, and some people are having problems navigating that.
Yeah, so absolutely, there will be dog and pigs adding liquidity. There needs to be dog and pigs adding liquidity, especially dogs, because
Mm-hmm.
of the tax associated with dogs. You need to have a whitelisted contract that allows people to add liquidity without paying the tax.
Right.
So this is already built. It will be on the UI. People will see it in a couple of days when the new UI goes up.
Okay.
And as far as removing liquidity, yes, potentially. So when you build systems, you want to build systems that make it that encourage people to put capital into the system, and you want people to have the utility, of course, to remove capital when they want to remove capital, but you always want to avoid um, making it. I don't want to say too easy, but let me just give an example of what I mean.
Yeah.
So when it comes to depositing capital in a system, you want to have it so people can click a button to autofill the amount that they have in their wallet. So, say it's
Right.
deposit dogs, right? And they have 100 dogs in their wallet. There should be something that says your wallet balance is 100 dogs. You can click on it and you can autofill it, and now you hit it, and now you've deposited 100 dogs. When it comes to withdrawing, you don't want to have that same autofill,
Mm-hmm.
not because you don't want people to be able to withdraw their money, because of course they can withdraw their money. you don't want to make it a mindless thing for them when it
Right.
comes to withdrawing their money. You don't want to make it so it's a binary option. They remove all of it or they remove none of it. You want them to really take the time to think about it before they do it. And that's kind of the reason why, when it comes to adding liquidity, we tend to add a lot more functionality than removing liquidity. But of course,
Understandable. Sure.
that's always there, right? So it's you just have to find a balance. You need to make sure that people can access it and it's easy for them to access it, but you're not making it so they're not so you're making it too easy for them just to blindly remove
Right.
all their capital, or maybe they don't even want to remove all their capital.
Right. Yep. Okay. So let me ask you, what's the biggest hurdle of the ecosystem that you or the ecosystem has to overcome to ensure its success besides user adoption? Because that's the obvious marker, right?
Yeah, well, so this you could maybe call this adoption, but I would say education. So
Mm-hmm.
we have a lot of moving parts with Animal Farm. We're doing a lot of things that are extremely unique in Animal Farm, and we need to properly display uh, all of the utility and make it easy for the new person in DeFi to navigate our site. And we spent a lot of time doing that, but I think that's going to be something that it's a challenge. And when I say it's a challenge, I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean that's something that we need to put more resources towards, which
Right.
we're absolutely doing. So we have a YouTuber who makes really good like animated sketch videos about crypto projects. We
Mm-hmm.
have him working on one that really breaks down all our products. We have a video on our front page, which is talking about our vision of the site and a basic interview, basically with me talking about some various mechanics on the site. And then we have another video on the landing page that tells people, how to buy BNB, how to set up a MetaMask, all of these things. So education, I would say, is the main thing, and that's the case with any kind of disruptive technology, major innovation. There's always an education barrier there that you need to get over.
Right, absolutely. I think it'll be great to have those resources for us, not only as content creators, but just to have a quote unquote official resource that we can point people to, so that if our videos don't explain everything, we can point them to that, and it'll be easy,
Yeah,
simple, and easy to follow. Right. So yeah,
well, yeah, we've been working on a wiki as well, so
that'd be great.
that's
Right.
something that we'll be able to provide. That's actually already built out, but we're just improving on it a bit more.
Great. Awesome. All right, so let's get into dog staking a little bit. Crediting opens the 15th. Is there a period of time where it's going to close off? Is it going to be open for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks,
No,
or
it's
is
going to be open indefinitely.
okay? Okay, so will
Yeah.
we be able to create the dog LPs before the farm goes live on October 18th?
So the way that it's going to work is, as far as crediting, on the 15th, if you were holding LPs at the point of pause, then you will have a chance to either get credit yourself in LPs or credit yourself in single asset dogs. If
Right.
you were holding single asset dogs, you credit yourself in single asset dogs. Now, as and then those will be in your wallet. So if you credit yourself in single asset dogs, they'll be in your wallet. If you credit yourself in LPs, they'll be in a staking contract that will earn you 35% APY, and those LPs get unvested at a rate of 2% a day, cumulative. So at the end of 50 days,
Mm-hmm.
you can either withdraw 2% a day, and then you'll have it completely withdrawn in 50 days, or you can wait all 50 days and withdraw it all at once, but it's cumulative. Now, as far as creating new LPs, that will go live about a half an hour before the farm itself goes live.
Okay.
So there'll be a great grace period where people are going to be able to buy dogs and people are going to be able to add liquidity to dogs and then get into the farms and get into the pools before it goes live and before it starts paying rewards. And the reason for this is because the portion of rewards that are allocated to you in a specific pool or in a specific farm is relative to the portion of that pool that you make up. So if you make up half the pool with your capital, you're going to get half of the rewards that's allocated to that pool. And this becomes a bit of a vector for insiders to take advantage of if you don't have a grace period that allows everybody to get in, everybody that
Right.
wants to get in, that's paying attention to get in before it starts paying out rewards. This way, the first person that gets in doesn't get some ridiculous unfair payout. So
Sure.
everybody's going to have their chance to get in before it goes live, and then it goes live.
Okay. So the next question is: will dog single asset staking still play a role in farm referral rewards?
Yes, yes, it's good. It's the same.
Same. Okay. Now we can stake in both the auto compounding and non-auto at the same time, and one of them I believe had 1% a day, another had 0.75 if I recall.
Yep.
If we do that, if we're in both at the same time, then that tax reduction adds together, so we'll get a cumulative 1.75 per day, right?
So the way it will work is the tokens that you have in the auto compounding will be getting their tax reduced by 1% a day, and the tokens that you have in the non-auto compounding will be having the tax reduced by 0.75% a
Oh,
day.
oh, gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
I understand now. Awesome. All
Yeah.
right.
So there's two scores. There's a token loyalty score, and then
Right.
there's a wallet loyalty score. So the token loyalty score is specific to a specific stake, and the wallet loyalty score looks at your accumulative stakes, and if you're over the threshold, which is relatively low, like a few
Mm-hmm.
$100s worth of dogs,
Mm-hmm.
uh, then you're reducing the tax on all dogs that you transact in the future at a rate of 2% a month. So if you've been staked for a month, then you've reduced your tax on a dog stake by 30%. So the token loyalty score will have reduced your tax by 30%, and the wallet loyalty score will reduce your tax by 2%. So you'll have reduced your tax by 32% in 1 month.
Okay. All right, so let's move on to the piggy bank. Now, I was wondering if the piggy bank is doing what you intended for it originally in the ecosystem. I know it's still working; it's working great. I have several banks myself, but is it doing what you intended for the whole ecosystem as a whole? And do you think that the real value of it is yet to be seen?
Well, absolutely, the real value is yet to be seen because the pig token gets its value from the contracts in the farm being live. So the the pig token gets its value from both the transaction of dogs
Mm-hmm.
and people depositing and withdrawing and into the animal farm and the animal farms being live doing the collateral rehypothecation. So when there's no dogs being transacted and there is no depositing withdrawing in the farms or pools, and there's no BUSD injections happening from the collateral rehypothecation, which will happen when it goes live, and we have a significant amount of capital to do that already from V1. Uh, there's the cash flow, which is going to pig holders, is not there, and that is the major value case for pigs is the fact that you're staking pigs and holding pigs is giving you a share ownership of the platform. So if the
Right,
platform
that's
is
the pig
live,
pen. That's the pig pen. I was talking about the piggy bank.
well, yeah, I understand
Okay,
that,
okay,
but
okay.
it, if if there are all these cash flows going to the pig token, there's more incentive to hold the pig token. So the pig token is is going to perform a lot better, right?
Mm-hmm.
From a price perspective. So people have a hard time buying value right now. There's an obvious value case, an obvious value play, in my
Right.
opinion, of buying the pig's tokens and accumulating as many of the pig tokens as you can right now. So when the farm goes live, when they're staking and withdrawing, so depositing, withdrawing, paying out dividends to pig holders, and when there's dog tokens being transacted, and there's this huge cash flow of BUSD going to pig holders, um, you have that large allocation to take advantage of that. And we all know that how crypto goes is people can have an opportunity to invest, and some very small portion of the base will, but then when it goes live and people see the price pumping and people see all of the excitement of the launch event, that's when you have the major wave of capital coming in. And the pig token having its major use case fulfilled as a uh, as a type of share ownership of the platform makes a huge difference in the value of the pig token itself. So
Right, right,
the piggy bank is is performing exactly as we would want it to perform. It's performed very well. It's fully functional, and it's allowing people who are utilizing it to allocate a larger holding of pigs. But what gives those pigs its value is the animal farm. So so it's almost like a pre-sale type of situation
mm-hmm.
where people who are holding the pigs and people who are accumulating their pigs in the piggy bank are uh, are accumulating their share of future value, and that future value comes into play when the animal farm goes live, and that's when the demand for pigs will spike and continue to grow. And as that demand for pigs grows, the value of being in the piggy bank also grows.
Right. So it's like the being in the drip garden right now in anticipation of the drip price rising. It's the same thing with pigs.
Yeah, very similar.
Yeah. So I think I know the answer to the next question, but I'm wondering if there's any way to combine the non-time lock stakes to reduce our maintenance.
Uh, so no, each stake has to be treated separately for several reasons. So there are just technical reasons
Right.
that each stake has to be an individual stake, but there is the ability to call multiple actions at once, such as compound all,
Right.
that kind of thing.
Right. Okay. And just as a UI developer myself, just a little suggestion on the piggy bank readout of the individual banks. Having the max payout in truffles is kind of meaningless to us, especially since it doesn't show how many we've actually claimed. So I'm wondering if you can take that into effect on version 3 site.
Well, yeah, the whole UI for all of the dashboards are being updated for
Okay. Okay, great. I just
including
wanted to.
including piggyback.
I figured I just wanted to throw that out there that it's truffles is being in the millions or whatever it is kind of crazy to keep track of. So yeah, cool.
It's not currently displaying the USD value.
Right, right, and it's the biggest thing too was like it's not displaying the amount of truffles that you've claimed, so you have no idea in what relation of the max payout you've claimed, right? So you don't know when you're close. But all right, so
Yeah,
my next question is: will the Betfair and PancakeSwap or other partnership talks be restarted after launch? And I'm wondering, because of what's happened in the past with Betfair and ApeSwap, where things maybe were announced a little early, has your team discussed like keeping the news leaks of those locked down until the partnerships are concrete and completed?
yeah. So ApeSwap really had nothing to do with that. ApeSwap is about an incompetent development team that doesn't have proper communication with the founder, and a founder that doesn't have any idea what his team is doing below him.
Mm-hmm.
That's really we had spoken with the ApeSwap team about promoting the partnership and about announcing the partnership in an interview, and we were all in agreement about it. Everybody, uh, apparently, except for the founder of ApeSwap, and um, they knew, right? The team, their developers, and the person that was in charge of partnerships knew that we were agreed on all terms that we would announce the partnership in an interview with the platform we were going on, because it was a rather large interview and it was a perfect interview to announce it. We were all
Mm-hmm.
in agreement on it. We announce it. Of course, a bunch of people get excited and go in there and start talking about it, and the founder of the project flies off the handle in a way that, even if we wanted to continue working with him, it just wouldn't make sense at that point, you know.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
uh, that had nothing to do with a miscommunication on our end or us leaking something that shouldn't have been leaked. It was absolutely Pancake Swap's team being incompetent.
Okay.
And yeah, and the Bet Fury partnership, that's not compromised in any way. So Bet Fury, um, we had a plan to move forward on several games. They said that they were working on getting some centralized exchange listings, so they needed to put aside some time to work on that, and then we could start up discussion about the partnership in a few months when they worked through the things that they were trying to work through. And then, of course, we uh, we started all of this. So we,
Okay.
but yeah, absolutely, we'll go back into communication with them, especially when we uh, start to focus on, when Animal Farm is fully launched and we start to
Right.
focus on other things.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to that. I've been with Betfree for years. They were my first, one of my first steps into passive income, and had it not been for Betfree, actually, I probably wouldn't have found Drip because I found it through one of the YouTubers that is in both, and he made a video on it. So I'm definitely looking forward to the connection with Betfree. That'll be awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I think that could be a pretty good partnership. We had some really good plans to move forward on, and yeah, I see no reason why we couldn't follow through on them. We're on pretty good agreement on doing them. They just
awesome.
needed to take some time because of some centralized exchange listings they were trying to get.
Right, and you needed the time too, so it worked out. So my next question is the $5,000 contest that you're going to have on the homepage. Is that using Gleam, or are you using your own platform?
So we're going to use a combination of tools. So people will see the full layout, but it's a combination. It's a combination of some proprietary tools that we're using to um, track traffic that's coming in from different ads. Some of our own contracts are decentralized contracts that we're using,
Mm-hmm.
and we're using a third party service as well. But I don't want to leak info about that
Okay.
until it's up.
Now, is that going to be available to all of us, or only to new
No,
incomers?
yeah, it'll be available to everybody because there's some things that you can do to increase your chances of winning that are relevant to everybody, such as
Okay,
introducing new people to the platform and retweeting specific
gotcha.
tweets and this kind of thing.
Awesome. All right, looking forward to that. On to Scratchy. I don't want to talk too much about this because it's a little bit off in the future, but I wanted to ask one point on it. You mentioned that it would be bullish uh, for the Animal Farm people or for the ecosystem because players on other sites that have it whitelisted are going to realize that that there's bigger jackpots available on the Animal Farm or from Drip. So I'm curious, like how they're going to find out what scratchies are available. Is it going to be are all the scratchy platforms, or rather, are all the platforms that are using Scratchy going to be listed on the Scratchy site?
So the way that they will realize is when people go to utilize their scratch ticket, they are forwarded over to the scratchy site, and that's where the staking is happening. That's where
Mm-hmm.
the scratching is happening. That's where the claiming is happening, and there are of course different ways that we're promoting and onboarding people to the various projects that are utilizing our white label. For example, when we get a new platform, we can promote it on our front page and on our landing page and
Mm-hmm.
specific partnerships and that kind of thing. So Yeah, absolutely. They'll be exposed that way. Now that the sadly, the vast majority of investors are not educated investors. So the vast majority of them are going to see tickets for sale on a site with their theming and all of their imagery. They're going to scratch the tickets and play the game. I'm sure a lot of them will stake, right? Because you really have to be, ignorant of what's going on to not stake. But
Mhm.
they might not dig deeper than that. But there will be some percentage of savvy investors that are looking deeper into the protocol, that are looking at the other platforms that are hosting the service, and they will will seek larger jackpots, and they'll also um, seek other platforms just from an investment perspective. Who else is using this service? And we're really focused on working with higher end projects.
Mhm.
Especially early on. So we have a model that allows anybody to adopt our service, but we're gonna kind of handpick who we work with for the first, say, 4 to 6 months, really to establish our brand as being on top tier sites, and then we can really allow anybody to adopt it because at that point we've secured our brand and there's no cross platform risk to someone else that may or may not be legitimate, whatever, utilizing the service.
Right.
There's no cross-platform risk. It's a bit of a branding risk. A site that's some shady platform that decides to use scratchy tickets, but this is why we want to spend the first 6 months or so, maybe first year, really just working with high-end brands to establish our brand, and then it becomes like like just let's just throw something out there. Coca Cola, right? You see
Right.
Coca Cola for sale in a crappy gas station. That doesn't look bad on Coca Cola.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's just it is what it is. So
So I was kind of I was asking about how they found out about the other platforms because I was wondering like if I was running my own platform and I wanted to white label Scratchy, right? I and in knowing in talking with you and finding out about the system and finding out that that people on my platform can find out about the other platforms that are using Scratchy and potentially buy their tickets maybe instead of mine because they're lured because of the bigger jackpots, would that not be a deterrent for my platform, right? So it was just kind of thinking about some being in their shoes. Would they see that as a detracting, or do you think it's going to be such a small percentage that it wouldn't be a big concern?
well, the thing is that the the platform that is adopting the service has some control over the percentage of their treasury that's paid out towards jackpots, and they can have promotional events where they're increasing that percentage.
Okay.
Also, as I already you know alluded to and explained, the way that it's presented on a third party site is with their branding, with their tickets. So the vast majority of users on their platform will see it. It's only people that are in the know that have been in these talks and AMAs that even realize that we're the team behind it and we're also the team that built Drip and all this stuff. The average user who's going to be going on these sites are going to be going on the platform, seeing that they have scratch tickets, reading the rules of the tickets. If they sound attractive to them, they'll be playing it and they'll be scratching the tickets, staking them, and that's it. It's really you would have to dig to find the other platforms that are hosting the sale of tickets. The site that you're the the platform area or the UI that you're forwarded to when you are buying someone's ticket and utilizing it is it's a section. It's basically my tickets section, and it only has scratchy branding at the top, and then all of their branding on the tickets, and no displays of any other projects at all.
Right. Okay.
So when someone utilizes the tickets on someone's platform, they're only seeing their branding on the site, and then um, some scratchy branding, but no other projects that are utilizing the tickets. So the person that's utilizing the tickets would have to actually do their research and dig and find out, the other platforms that are hosting the tickets, and then look at all of their jackpots and
Right,
determine which
right,
one has a larger jackpot. And these jackpots are variable, so some,
right,
because the each person has the ability to increase their jackpot for special events and partnerships, or if they're new, they might want to increase it to encourage more people to go over there. So
okay,
um, that's something that we've definitely thought about, and it's this is why I was saying earlier, when people were asking me to scratchy, um, when people buy tickets on other people's platforms, is it a direct cash flow to our projects? And I wanted to ensure that we weren't trying to kind of overimpose ourselves and our other platforms on the white label service, because it takes away from the value of people that want to use it as a full white label service, where
right,
they're creating value for their platform and they're using their branding. And so when someone buys a ticket on a third party platform, all of the buybacks go to their token. It's all of their branding. They're not getting exposure to any other branding except for Scratchy. And it's even the branding on Scratchy is it's, I don't know what kind of example I could use, but it's not the main focus, right? The main focus is their ticket, their branding. It's
right.
like,
Okay.
a kind of brought to you by kind of
Yeah,
thing
yeah, yeah.
as far as our branding goes.
Awesome, awesome. All right, good news. All right, we're gonna look into. I want to try to keep this as quick as possible, but somebody made this chart in the Animal Farm group. I happened to see it, and I saved it because it kind of gives a really good simplified picture of the circulatory ecosystem that you've developed. So I'm wondering if you could just maybe walk through this really quick as to how we can utilize the dogs and the pigs to earn BEB and BUSD and grow those native assets to grow our daily passive income without selling the native assets.
Yeah, so let me just see if I can increase it. Okay, so um, well, I'm just reading it.
And it's a little
Okay,
bit out of date,
well,
of course, because it doesn't have the new dog auto compounding pool and all that, but it's pretty close.
yeah, yeah. So let me just give you my perspective on it, just from
Sure,
my own.
sure.
Sense. Okay, so the way that I would take advantage of it is by, first of all, utilizing any non-native tokens that I have that are just sitting in my wallet, not aggregating any yield, or are potentially on some other farm or some other pool aggregating inferior yield. And for some people, that's going to be PancakeSwap. So if you have your capital on PancakeSwap, this is a perfect opportunity to migrate from PancakeSwap to Animal Farm,
Mm-hmm.
get all of the benefit of being in PancakeSwap, plus all of the additional utility and additional yield that you get from Animal Farm. So that's kind of like first and foremost. If you have some non-native, LP tokens or Chainlink or BNB or BUSD sitting in your wallet, it's a major opportunity to put them in the farm to start earning yield in the form of dogs. Now, I would also, buy dogs, of course, right? So I I tend to set up systems where if I am earning some sort of dev fee, I'm not earning them in the native asset. This way, I'm not accumulating a ton of our native assets, which would require me to sell them in order to
Right,
pay developers or to pay auditing costs and all of this stuff. So
right.
I don't do that. But as an independent investor, right, if I was coming in, you know, not as a developer or as a founder,
Mm-hmm.
I would buy dogs immediately from the start and get them into the dog pound. This way, I'm accumulating the BNB that's being generated from the transactions on the dog token from day one, because there's going to be a lot of people who are farming dogs, and they're steadily building up uh, their position in the asset over time, and it gives an opportunity for people who kind of want to skip the line and go right into buying dogs and getting in there and getting a large allocation of that pool from day one without having to build it up over time. Of course, you can build it up over time on top of that, but I would try to get a large stake in dog pound on day one, and I would go to the auto compounding pool, because the auto compounding pool is going to take the BNB that I'm earning, swap half of it for dogs, and go into the dogs BNB farm and start earning pigs. So that would be my main strategy, right? Is to go in, take any non-native assets that I can earn yield on, and put them into the farms and into the pools. I would take the BNB that I had, or BUSD that I had, buy dogs, put them into the auto compounding dog pool, and start compounding my position into the farm. And now I would take the pigs that I'm earning and put them into the pig pen. I might take 10% or 20% of the pigs I'm earning and put them into the piggy bank, because that is I would say it's a higher risk model, but you have the opportunity to make a higher return in pigs,
Right.
which you can then allocate to the pig pen. So I would make my main focus buying dogs and getting those dogs into the auto compounding pool, because at that point you're earning BNB and you're earning LP tokens, which are allowing you to accumulate your share ownership of the farm in pigs. I would stake those pigs and earn BUSD, and now with the BUSD that I'm earning from the pig pen, I would follow the model that I follow in traditional markets and in a lot of other markets, and I would take the vast majority of the BUSD that I'm earning from the pig pen, and I would use it to accumulate my my share of the underlying assets. So I would likely take anywhere from 3 to 5% of what I'm earning in the pig pen, and I would secure that as profit, and I would take the rest of the BUSD that I'm earning, and I would most likely buy dogs with it. And I would take those dogs and I would put those dogs into the auto compounding contract, and I would
Mm-hmm.
continue to do that, uh, securing my 3 to 5% in BUSD, and that would be my way of securing profit on the platform. And I would start that from day one. This way, immediately you're already putting BUSD aside and in your wallet, but the majority of it you're using to accumulate your position in the platform. And now, when you're in the auto compounding pool, it's taking that BNB and it's buying dogs with it, and it's taking those LPs, but those LPs are always available to you. So it's not like that BNB that you're getting is being locked up or is
Right.
being lost. It's
Right.
just being added to the LP and it's accessible to you. So that is so you'd be earning a bunch of BNB as well, and I wouldn't touch it, because I instead of unpairing that, which you're giving up some of your stronghold on that asset, I would utilize it and continue to utilize it to earn pigs, and then the BUSD that I'm earning from pigs, that's what I would secure some of my profit on, and like I would secure 3 to 5%, say, and use the rest to compound, and that's my strategy, and that's a strategy that I use in traditional markets. I hold some IBM, I hold some other dividend earning stock, and I never sell any of my long term holds. I'm never selling any of my IBM stock.
Right.
Uh, I'm taking that dividend that I'm earning, I'm using it to accumulate a greater share, and I'm securing profit with 3 to 5% of it. And that's, if you're a small holder, that 3 to 5% may seem like it's like the return I'm making is not massive, but this is how you accumulate your position. This is how you build wealth. So in a year, in a couple years, this 3 to 5% is now earning you, thousands of dollars a day, or maybe thousands
Right.
of dollars a week, and you still have all of that B&B, and you still have all of those dogs and all of those pigs in there that are now worth, whatever they're worth, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars.
Right. It's like people kind of poo-pooing when somebody enters the faucet and they can only afford one or two drip, right? But if you take into effect the compounding factor of that, it it can grow massive if you give it enough time, and that's part of the key play of this whole ecosystem is just building those native assets and using a part of the dividends to grow that native asset more, and then the rest of it to ROI, so that you're
Yeah.
secure with your financial position.
And the beauty of Animal Farm really is that you're able to secure a profit in BUSD without ever selling the native assets, and
Right.
this allows you to put away. You're immediately securing profit. You're immediately putting away some percentage of your BUSD every day, and that's just going into your wallet, and you can use that to spend on anything.
Right,
Do
and the
whatever
pig
you
pen
want
is
with
going to
it.
start paying out huge as soon as the farm goes live, and we have all those fees being injected into the reward vault. So that
Yeah,
could be
it's
huge.
it's gonna pay so much bigger than it did in V1, and the main reason for that is the new loyalty system, which is going to be generating a much larger tax. So, what's either going to happen? One or two things are going to play out. Either the price of the assets skyrocket because there's less people transacting it, or the amount of dividends that's paid out skyrocketed because more people are transacting it, but the taxes is higher. So
Right.
um, it's a win-win either way, and the people that are going to benefit the most are the people that are using a strategy similar to what I just laid out.
Yeah. So there you go, folks. How to get $1 million from a millionaire. That's how it's done. All right, so let's move
Mhm.
on. We kind of briefed over this, but like I said, we've got a schedule here. We're going live with the new Animal Farm UI on the 15th. Um, and that's just going to be the homepage and contest. Is that right? On the 15th?
So so the landing page, which has the contest on it and has a bunch of basic information and a bunch of like promotional information and branding and audits and all that stuff. That'll be the landing page. That'll be live. The home page will also be live, and that has some stronger analytical data on the site that has more detailed information about every product and an efficient way to navigate all of these products. That will be live, and a basically the UI as it will be on the day Animal Farm goes live on October 18th will be how it is on the 15th. So it's going to be essentially the full site. The only thing that will be different is some of the contracts aren't live, so some of the data that it will be displaying won't be live. But other than that, the site's going to be uh, essentially as it will be when it goes live,
Okay.
and
And it'll be on a new URL, I'm assuming, so that we can keep the existing two sites are going to be still up.
no, no, no. So it'll be functional. So the things that you need to be functional from the old site will be functional on the new site. So we're keeping the same domain, the domain that you know animalfarm.app, that
Okay.
domain. The new domain, the new UI is going up. Everything, the piggy bank and all of that will be functional on the
Okay.
new site with the new UI,
Okay.
and the landing page. Yep.
All right. Great.
Oh,
So,
do you want me to continue with the roadmap?
yeah, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'll let you go.
Okay. So on the 15th, that's when the new UI goes up, and that's when the dog crediting goes up. So people who were holding dogs at the point when we migrated from V1 to V2 will be able to claim their dogs, either single asset dogs or LPs. Um, the strategy that I would go with was single asset dogs, and the reason for this is because the incentive structure of dogs and the wave of new investors that are coming in most certainly will result in a massive price appreciation at dogs going live due to the variable tax vesting model that will ensure that essentially no dogs will be hitting the market on the sell side. There'll be essentially no sell pressure, and any buy pressure is going to cause price appreciation because there's going to be little to no sell pressure on the other side. So that's an obvious reason why you would want to claim dogs if you have um, LPs and you want to decide between LPs or dogs. And
Hmm.
also because we had the ability to program dogs, so with LP tokens, those are issued by PancakeSwap. They're immutable contracts that we have no ability to add any kind of programming or game theory to. So it limits our ability to set up reward incentive structures. So, for one, I would want to be in single asset dogs because I would want to be all in the asset that's about to greatly appreciate, not half in BUSD or half in BNB. And also, the reward payout for staking those dogs. So if you wanted to take the dogs and pair them with BNB or pair them with BUSD, you're going to be earning pigs and you're going to be earning a higher APY than if you get credited in your LPs and decide to go into the LP vesting model, where your LPs will be able to be unstaked at a rate of 2% a day cumulative, and you'll be earning 35% on the LPs that are staked in the vesting contract. Um, and you'll be earning those in dogs. So the reward payout and the reward structure is better for single asset dogs because we're able to set up better incentives because it's programmable. We have the ability to do that. And also, you'll be fully in the asset that's about to appreciate. So that's the play, in my opinion. But we want to give the choice, obviously, so
Right.
people have that choice. And so that's going up and the site's going up. Now, as far as crediting dogs, that does not have any kind of time constraints to it. What did have a time constraint is your ability to send in the V1 dogs to get credited. So
Hmm.
we needed to do that because Animal Farm is fully decentralized. We have no ability to move liquidity pools or to mint tokens or do anything like that. So it took a full community effort to do this migration. That required people sending in their LP tokens and sending their dog tokens. We needed to ensure that we had enough LP tokens, enough dog tokens to migrate the liquidity.
Right.
So if you leave it up to people, you say, "Oh, send them in if you want, send them in. Don't send them if you don't want." It's going to be a tragedy in the commons situation where
Right.
everybody will assume, "Oh, everybody else will do it," and no one will do it. So we had to put a time period where you have we gave like a month and a half where you could send it in, and as long as you sent in at least one dog, you would be credited your full amount. So, uh, so that had a time limitation on it. But the dogs crediting, people getting credited in dogs, there's no reason to put a time limitation on it. So, uh, so people will have from the 15th on to get their dogs credited. And that crediting will take place on the old site. So the animal.farm. That's where you'll be using your dogs. That's where you'll be crediting your dogs and dealing with your dogs vesting if you take LPs. We
Okay.
we're doing it on the old site because we don't want to confuse new investors. We don't want new investors coming in and seeing these farms or pools that or crediting that is something that they have no ability to access, and it will just confuse them.
Right.
So that's taking place on the old site, and right now we're having a basically a community campaign where essentially every other day I'm going on with a new community member and a new influencer who has their own community, already involved with animal farming, already involved with drip, and speaking directly to our community because we have something like over 150,000 investors,
Right.
and everybody is on a different page with how much they're up to date on the roadmap and what they need to do. So I thought it was worthwhile to spend at least a couple weeks speaking directly to the community. But from the 15th on, we're going to be doing a ton of outward facing marketing utilizing YouTube ads. We just got a Yahoo Finance article. We got articles with Bitcoin.com. We got articles with Coinape. We got articles with Be in Crypto. We got over 50 million followers worth of Twitter influencers. So we have something like 30, 35 Twitter influencers that are specifically focused on crypto. And we spent a lot of time reviewing all of their accounts to ensure that their engagement was legitimate and it was solid. And combined, these influencers have over 50 million followers and they're
Jeez.
legitimate. We turned down so many who were not legitimate. So we're about to have a massive push on Twitter, a push like no one's ever done in DeFi. We
Nice.
have our contest. Uh, we have YouTube ads that are specifically in video YouTube ads
Mm-hmm.
that, for example, BitBoy is not doing promotional videos anymore, but there's nothing preventing us from buying ad space before BitBoy's video and mid stream, right?
Right.
So we're not just throwing our YouTube ads up, willy nilly all over the place. We are doing a specific targeted form of ad for specific channels that are high impact channels that will be able to get a strong return on our investment. And also, we're using strategies where the viewer needs to watch for a period of time. They need to have some engagement. We're not paying for ads where people just immediately skip. So and we were able to do all of these things with the help of our new CMO as 20 plus years of experience. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have experience in this kind of thing, so this is why we were not doing these things previous. And also, I only had so much time and only so much
Right.
resources. This now we have someone that's a full time CMO only managing us, and he has a team working under him because he has his own marketing firm who are doing the scheduling and doing the reaching out and filling out the applications. And also, we're partnered with three marketing firms who have kind of a la carte services that we can utilize and take advantage of to get. That's how we got our Yahoo Finance placement and all of these things.
Okay.
Um, and then banner ads. We got banner ads on all the major sites. We got search bar placement on Dex Tools. So when you on Dex Tools, you go to search anything, ours comes up first, no matter what you search for. We got sponsored placements. Really, like every possible angle you could hit, we're hitting. We have a high six figure um, budget that we've allocated for the first couple months,
Mm-hmm.
and we're really using it to its full potential.
Great.
And then all right, so then keep going, and then on the 18th we go live. So the way that will go is um, we'll have a countdown. When this countdown hits zero, the token, the dog token, will be listed. People will be able to buy and add liquidity to it. About a half an hour later, the farms and pools will open, uh, and then it's live. Then the dog token starts paying out to the pig pen. The fees and associated withdrawals and deposits start paying out to the pig pen. A ton of capital gets staked on PancakeSwap on the user's behalf. This generates a bunch of cake that we're able to sell for both BUSD injections. We can do some buybacks, uh, and we can continue to fund our marketing budget. Um, and then about 2 weeks after the farm goes live, the game will go live, the Pigpen game, which is called Dogs of War. That's the working title. We may change it when we release the documentation. Everything might be changed, but that's the working title. Sometime around then, maybe the following month or a couple weeks after that, we'll have the dogs roulette game come out. I would say I would say a month, around a month the um, after the Animal Farm goes live, the new drip UI will go up. Very shortly after that, yeah, a couple weeks after that, Scratchy will be going live. Um, After Scratchy goes live, then we want to release the new drip products that are supporting the faucet and reservoir. So that will likely come about a month after Scratchy goes live. And then we'll focus on partnerships, so vault partnerships for Animal Farm. And, you know, that's going to take us like anywhere from like, that's going to take us like into the next year. So
Right.
that's, that's kind of our roadmap for the end of the year.
So all said, the next 6 months are going to be crazy for everybody. That's we got a
Oh,
lot coming.
we're going to be launching something massive every, 3 to 6 weeks for
Right.
the next 6 to 8 months.
So all of us YouTube content creators are going to have our work cut out for us for sure.
I expect us to perform. So I expect obviously what we're about to launch to perform extremely well, or else I wouldn't have developed it. But I expect our existing tokens to perform like they've never performed before, because all of the value that we provided to make them perform in the past, what we're about to launch is tenfold what we launched then.
Right.
Our
Right.
marketing budget, all of the products, all of the new utilities, and then when we're talking about drip, we also have products directly for drip and the drip platform, a new UI. It's the games like
Right.
we're about to have a campaign really like no other DeFi product or development team has ever had before.
And we've shaken out a ton of loose hands or weak hands, that
Yeah,
may not have been totally loyal. So everybody that's been sticking around for this whole 6 7 month pause, we know are going to be pretty diligent to the ecosystem. So
and
the
also,
yeah.
yeah, and also with the max payout with drip, and the last major bull run brought in a ton of buyers, and the max payout for any of those buyers that have just been withdrawing will hit inevitably within a year from their entry. So
Mhm.
that means towards the end of this year and early next year, a lot, if not all of those weak hands that or people that were just kind of exploitative that just joined just to try to drain the system, they're going to be maxing out by the end of this year and early next year. So that's going to be coming in junction with all the new utility.
Well, that you say that, but that's assuming that they're not creating new wallets and waterfalling those to max those out, right?
Well, what I'm so if they're doing that, then they're compounding. So what I said is the people that are exploitative and deposited just to withdraw and just to drain the system. If they're creating new wallets, that means that they're depositing. They're
Right.
compounding into the system. So
Right.
there's nothing wrong with people creating new wallets. It doesn't hurt the system at all. In fact, it generates more taxes for the system, because instead of paying 5% to compound, they're paying 10% to do a new deposit. So the reason why the max payout exists is to prevent people who are just earning through referrals from continuing to compound their team bonuses exponentially, because that does not require any new deposits or any compounding, but they can just continue to earn referral bonuses, but that will max them out. But being able to continue earning through compounding or new deposits, that's a positive for the system. They're
Right.
putting capital back into the system. So whether they're doing that through hitting the compound button or creating new wallets is in fact, if they're creating new wallets to do it, they're paying additional taxes. And people do not understand the game theory as well as they think they do, and they think they're getting away with something when in fact they're paying more taxes.
Sure. Yeah. All right. So speaking of taxes, there was a viewer question that I'll ask real quick, and he or she, I don't know who it was, asked if has minting extra drip changed the point at which whale tax applies.
No, it hasn't. But we have the ability to just we have the ability to adjust it, um, if it's needed. So there, so we have the ability to adjust various values, such as the minimum deposit, such as the amount of BREAP you need to hold. So we we can allow the system to be scalable. For
Okay.
example, the minimum deposit um, needs to be reduced if the
Right.
price is doing 10x, and the amount of BREAP you need to hold to unlock wallets needs needs to be reduced if the price of if BREAP is growing exponentially, because the average user
Right.
needs to be able to use the basic functions of the system. So
Mm-hmm.
all of the you know all of the mechanics that need to be adjustable to allow the system to scale are adjustable, um, and that's one of them. So
Okay.
I don't like to mess with anything unless it's obvious that this needs to happen. Like, for the
Right.
system to be functional, this needs to happen. So that's why we haven't touched it, and there's no need to touch it. And in fact, um, it's more bullish to have that lower and have the supply increase, because that just means that now uh, the it really depends if that drip that is if that new drip created is hitting the circulating supply, which means and it's actually hitting the market, causing sell pressure, but the max supply is not increased to represent the increased total supply, then that means the amount that someone is allowed to withdraw from the system at the max supply is lower from a USD value perspective. So that's actually a form of countermeasure against people in be. It's a countermeasure against dividends increasing as the price is reducing.
Okay.
So if you understand what I'm saying, so
Yeah. Yeah.
if the supply is increasing, which means but the supply increasing, we already went over the supply increasing
Mm-hmm.
doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to have a reduction in price, right? If the
Right.
supply is increasing because less drip is going to the faucet, but more drip is going to the other secondary contracts, then the opposite would happen. Then we would have a price increase, and that's what we've seen, right? And the reason we know that is because we when you account for yield in our performance, we've outperformed all of these major altcoins, and that wouldn't be possible if the additional tokens were moving into circulating supply and being dumped on the market. So uh, but
Yeah.
if that was to happen, but the max supply on the whale tax didn't increase, then that just means the dollar value of the amount that you can withdraw from the system before hitting the whale tax is getting lower and lower and lower, which is positive for the price.
Right. Okay. So the last viewer question that I saw here was if we see a $10,000 Bitcoin and a like a $50 or $90 BNB, how do you see Drip handling that?
Okay, well, Drip does share liquidity pools with BNB, so it is affected by price moves, but we also share a pool with BUSD. And the more capital is in the drip BUSD pool, the less we're affected by these these main token price fluctuations.
Right.
So having the animal farm go live is going to make drip more independent from these overall fluctuations and more stable, and allow for price appreciation more. But we're always going to have some cross exposure to BNB,
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing because as BNB appreciates with and the market appreciates as I expect it to do in the long run, we're going to see a benefit from that. But also